Vikas, Anusha, and Neelu. Before we begin the session, we would just like to understand that, why do you think this topic is relevant to you? And what is it that you're exactly looking for? So we are today going to cover the types of narcissists and how to identify them. So this is going to be more of an informative session about bringing more awareness, and how do we deal with that. So, but is there anything specific that any of you would like to share or ask?
Hello.
Yeah, Nilo.
Yeah, hi. So, I would just like to share that now I am aware of this personality. Earlier, I was long time back, I was not aware. So, since recently only I was got aware of this type of personality, and then I was able to relate so many things. And it was like, you can say, confused moment for me what I was suffering all through long since so many years and how come I was not aware and only I was questioning myself and I used to be confused all the time कि मुझे लगता था some problem is inside me कि ये सब हो रहा है and this thing is happening but when I got to know the reality then I was
Right.
like, oh my God, what I was facing. So now I am aware, but then I really don't know how to deal because बहुत सारे damages हो चुके हैं in my self-esteem and the way I have been treated. तो अभी वो
Mhm.
उसको कैसे वो करना है like how to deal with that because I have let people to do the things with me because I was thinking other way around. But when I came to know the things are happening to me, it's really
Mhm.
shocking. So now I really want to deal and understand how to go about it.
Right. Right. Thanks for sharing, Nilo. Um,
Mhm.
Hi,
I
Priyanka. Yes, Anusha. You were saying something.
yeah, I mean, so I'm a little bit confused about this topic because when I look at these issues that narcissists have, sometimes I feel that everyone has one or the other characteristic, but then
Mm-hmm.
I was so sometimes I'm pretty sure that my ex was a narcissist, but at the same time, I feel like maybe I did something wrong or um, am I truly, because I'm not like a professional or medical diagnosis I cannot do on him. So if I feel like no, it's my mistake, then I am basically punishing myself. So I just want to get a clear understanding of what narcissism and qualities are. Although we have so many resources available, I really want to hear from you guys who know more about those than what we read randomly.
Right. Right. Great. Cool. So we will now begin the session. So one point that you said, Anusha, we'll start from that. That point is that all of us seem to have these tendencies or traits in us, right? So one thing is pretty clear that all of us have some amount of. So narcissism is not like a strict rule book that if we show one tendency and then we become a narcissist. We all have these traits and tendencies in us in varying degrees. But when it comes to a narcissist, these things, the tendencies and traits which we are going to talk about, are multiplied to extreme, excessive degrees, and then we can count it as narcissism. Because for an example, let's take the first trait as seeking attention or seeking recognition, and expecting that other people recognize our efforts. So this is just a basic human need, a basic human nature. that we all want to be appreciated, right? But as we extrapolate this to excessive degree, then it becomes a extreme narcissistic tendency or trait. And so in this spectrum lies three different areas. So the first one is the healthy state, which is the state of self-love, and which is the state of confidence, where we actually feel love for ourselves, right? But that healthy state is such that we don't say that I'm the only one special here. We say that I'm special, but that does not mean that I have to demean or belittle other people, or I have to, you know, be better than others every time, all the time. So in self-love and in when we are living life with confidence, that is one spectrum. The middle spectrum is when we are, juggling between these traits and tendencies of narcissism, which can go like in varied degrees. Why there's so much information and there's so much confusion around this topic is because of this reason only, that all of us have these traits and tendencies, but that does not mean that we are an unhealthy state. So it becomes really hard for us to, even identify and see that what is going on. So to identify that, at the later stage of today's call, we are going to give you some questions through which will help you exactly to, where you can place yourself or a person on, the spectrum of narcissism. And in the middle lies narcissism. On another extreme lies narcissistic personality disorder. So that is a very different, like, extreme category, right? So people who who show like really excessive form of these traits, they can be called as people who have narcissistic personality disorder. So those are the three spectrums which go on from like one side to the other extreme side. And most of the people who are there are in the middle. So we all have some of these traits and everything at varying degrees, but not all of it is unhealthy. But when it exceeds a certain amount of time and it starts to control a lot of things, when we're always trying to be in control in everything, then we start moving towards the other spectrum, and that is where the things needs to be watched for. Before we get into the traits, I would like to answer one of the things which Neelu mentioned, that she felt confused and she could not understand that this was happening to her for so long. So Neelu, this is a very common thing which people who are going through or are going through these kind of abuse. I'm not right now giving any judgment towards if you are going through that. We will have to talk about it later. But assuming that in case you are, then this is exactly how people who are in these relationships with other people who are narcissists, they end up feeling, because they end up feeling confused and they end up feeling that it is their fault and they are at fault all the time, right? So this happens, and it's okay, Vikas, you can leave. Yes, and another thing which Neelu, you were saying, that how to deal with it, right? So when it comes to excessive degrees of narcissism or narcissistic personality disorder, you cannot change the other person, right? So there's no way actually to change the other person, because one trait that narcissists have is that they are always right, and you cannot tell them. If you tell them they are like this, then they're not going to believe it, and that is also not right to tell them on their face. So that is only going to create pain for you. So people who are going through this, they have to understand that they will have to find out ways to deal with it, okay? Because in case you can get out of this relationship, that is a good way. If you can just simply make it out, great. But if you cannot, if you have to be there, then you are the person who has to take responsibility and actually learn that how you can maintain your sanity and maintain your life in a healthy way. So those are the few things. Now, Now let's listen to a story. So how this whole thing, this word came into picture. So Narcissus was a hunter in Greek mythology, and he was a son of the river god Cephissus and the nymph Liriope. He was a very beautiful young man, and many fell in love with him. And he showed them disdain and contempt all the time. So one day, what happened that while he was hunting in the woods, the Oread nymph Echo spotted him and immediately fell for him. When Narcissus sensed that someone was following him, Echo eventually revealed herself and tried to hug him. However, he pushed her off and told her not to disturb him. Echo, in despair, roamed around the woods for the rest of her life and wilted away until all it remained of her was an echo sound. While Narcissus, what happened to Narcissus? So, so Nemesis, the goddess of retribution and revenge, learned what had happened and decided to punish Narcissus for his behavior. She led him to a pool. There, the man saw his reflection in the water and he fell in love with it. Although he did not realize in the beginning that it was just a reflection, when he understood it, he fell in despair that his love could not materialize, and then he committed suicide. So this is an old Greek mythology story where this name comes from. So narcissism word comes from Narcissus, and this is what happened to him. And now coming to the second question, that is it common? So yes, this is a very common trait, and some of these traits can be found in all of us, all human beings. And why that happens? It's because of how we are raised in our childhood, and because we have not developed a self identity at that point of time. When we grow up, and as we start developing a self identity, so we all want to be heard and accepted and loved and appreciated. And when one of these needs, basic needs of us as a child, is not met, we figure out ways to find and make our own selves recognized, and that is how we develop these tendencies in ourselves. So this is a very common thing which is there in all the human beings. So it's not, this session is not about going everywhere and judging people as if this could be a narcissist and this is a narcissistic tendency they carry, and this is how it looks like. No, no, we all have it. You also have it, other people also have it. When it starts becoming um, problematic is when these tendencies, all of these tendencies in one people who is there constantly in your life, and that is excessive in nature. So actual real narcissists have these traits to excessive degrees, like 10 times of what normal people feel. So our need, let's suppose, to feel recognized is there, but their need of recognition is way more than how normally people feel. So according to statistics, 0.5 to 1% people around the globe are in the category of narcissistic personality disorder. While when it comes to people showing high degrees of narcissism, that covers around 10 to 15% of the total population. So it is common, but it is also not so common that we could just go on and label people that, you are a narcissist. No, that is not a very right way to go about it. That is something we all need to understand. Sachin, there's anything you like to add?
Yes, yes. So thanks for that. So as Monica mentioned, I just want to summarize one point over here that there are 10 types of personality disorders, and narcissistic personality disorder is a very clear cut one of those 10 personality disorders. So this is a documented and recognized disorder. So understand that just because you feel that someone has some traits and then you label them as narcissistic, because this is properly diagnosed. This is a like a category exists that this is a disorder. So when you hear what we are sharing with you, hear it from the point that most people, everybody has some traits. It will sound, you will also have that, we all have some traits we have. But people who actually have this as a disorder, lot of these points will apply to them. Now, just because you feel or you resonate that this point also applies, that point also applies, if you have a certain person in your mind when you're listening, um, then there is a good chance that they may have that disorder. But just because a lot of points are applicable doesn't mean that you can now officially characterize them or officially characterize yourself as having the disorder. Uh, Only what you need to do is, if you are hearing all this information for yourself and you feel we have shared, let's say we have shared 10 points with you and you think 7 or 8 applies to me. Normally, 2, 3, 4 points will apply to everybody. But if 7, 8, 9 points are applying to you, there's a good chance that you have the disorder. So don't self diagnose and self label yourself. Then go and do the test. So take the official test. So don't just label yourself or the other person now. This information will give you a good indication that there is a high probability. So go with high probability. Don't just label yourself or another person that now this is a disorder, because understand this is a classified disorder under the medical science. So don't become a doctor by yourself by just saying, oh, I heard this and that, and now this person is a narcissist. No. So don't become a doctor. But yes, use this information to say, yeah, it seems like ये possibility दिख रही है, ये बहुत कुछ दिख रहा है. तो अब it's worth going to the next step and maybe get tested. So then get tested. That's so consume this information that way. Thanks, Anand.
Hello, Anamika, Sachin. I just
Yes,
heard
yes,
what Sachin said, and Anamika, I joined the session a little late, but I have some information about narcissism, and I heard your story and sometime before that. So, based on what Sachin said and what you said, what I feel is most of the people who have these narcissistic traits will not accept that. So, even if there is someone who is listening to this, or there is a partner who is suffering the abuse of the narcissist is not going to accept, neither can someone, a victim, make him realize that he or she is a narcissist. So in such cases, it is really difficult to get these people to know it, because the next step, which Sachin mentioned, to go about and diagnose it, the person has to accept it and be ready to go there to do it. Because
Right.
unfortunately, I have faced, uh, I wouldn't call it an abuse, but yes, I have been lucky to move away from there. I had a narcissistic partner. I have taken a divorce. Unfortunately, during that time, I did not know that this is called narcissism. Many years after divorce, when I was studying and when I switched to learn psychology, that's
Mm-hmm.
when I got to know that there is something called as narcissism, and these traits
Mm-hmm.
exactly match with my partners. And
Right.
that was the time when I actually grieved it. Till then, I was still thinking that, oh, was there my fault? Because everybody else in Indian society, they all want
Mm-hmm.
to blame the girl. That there is something that you did not do well, and that's why the divorce has taken place, when that's actually not the case. You're getting
Right,
my
right.
point, right?
Absolutely. I guess before you joined, Yasmin, we were exactly talking about the same thing. I mean, Neelu shared her story and her questions. So, see, the thing is that why, the information which Sachin shared. So
Hmm.
we get a lot of clients, right? And a few of them themselves start feeling that, maybe I am a narcissist, right? So because and in most of the cases, actually they are not. They're just showing some of these traits and tendencies, but they are not. They are not they cannot be classified as, real like hardcore narcissists. So that is why it is, if somebody here feels that they are like that, that's fine. Okay, but so they can go and they can talk to somebody and they can go further into it. That is from one side. Another side of the story is that when we have a partner who's a narcissist, so what one thing that you said, that they are not going to accept, that is so true. They are just not going to accept that they are a narcissist, is never going to accept that he or she is a narcissist. That is one thing. And unfortunately, and it's so sad that there is no way actually to change these people, because one trait, one of these traits is that they are always right. They're always right, no matter what you do and what anybody says or anything. So it's, in fact, it's a mistake to tell them that they are a narcissist, right? So that is why people who go through it, they also need to go for professional help, who are having partners who are narcissists and all. They should take professional help, because if they come and they, start speaking out to the narcissist about how they are the ones who are going to suffer, right? So it's really not the right approach, and that is why, professional help is needed, even when you have understood, or even you're just, seeing excessive degrees of these tendencies in your partner. So professional help in these cases is, required. So it's not also right to label anybody like that, but if you genuinely feel that this is the case, then I guess this is a problem which cannot be, looked into through, self-help, and so it cannot be self-diagnosed and cannot be like handled, just like that.
I just want to say one quick point and then we can start on the topic, otherwise, we will actually run too far off. So, Yasmin, just one more point I would say that the reason to mention this is that we hear so many people come and they say, I suffered from depression, this and that. And whenever we ask them, how do you know that you were suffering from depression? They'll say, oh, I just checked on Google and this was the signs and all that. So, there is a difference between feeling depressed and suffering from depression. There's a very big difference. We all feel depressed sometimes, but to label yourself saying, I was going through depression from this and this time to this and this time, this is not correct, because these are properly medically recognized terms. So just because in Google or in few books you read that this is what it is, doesn't mean that you should now label yourself or somebody else saying, हाँ मैंने पढ़ लिया और ये ऐसे है. So understand that labeling someone or yourself with terms that have very clear meaning and very clear testing and diagnosis available is not doing any justice to you or the other. So this is the reason why we have put this warning and precaution that yes, you may feel that way. So, but then when you start talking to others and say that my partner was a narcissist and all that, then it is a very clear. So you are building an image of that person in other people's eyes. So yes, okay, maybe your relationship was strained and you see it that way. But at the end of the day, that person is not just limited to you. They have other relationships and image to maintain in front of other people also. So now just saying कि वो तो narcissist है, जबकि nobody ever diagnosed and like labeled him or categorized him that way, can damage another person's reputation and image also. So a little bit more compassion and little bit more empathy is required. क्योंकि हम उनको तो बोल रहे हैं कि उनमें empathy नहीं है, but हम भी तो फिर वही कर रहे हैं ना. So just because I am suffering from it and all that, so some level of compassion is required, and that doesn't mean I'm just saying कि आपने जो suffer किया है वो ये था होता, but I'm just saying to you कि the image of a person is not limited to the relationship between two people. They have a wider circle of influence and all that. So labeling a person and saying कि वो तो narcissist है is incorrect. Same way labeling yourself and saying मुझे तो depression है. किसी ने बताया भी नहीं आपको, किसी ने तो डायग्नोज नहीं किया, किसी ने टेस्ट नहीं किया, बस आपने पढ़ लिया कहीं पे कि ये होते हैं डिप्रेशन के साइन और मुझको हैं. दैट इज आल्सो इनकरेक्ट. तो अगर आपको लगता है कि हैं, तो जाके टेस्ट करा लो ना। तो व्हाई यू आर सेल्फ लेबलिंग योरसेल्फ कि ये है, तो करा लो जाके। और जैसी कि फिर यू विल नो कि व्हाट टाइप, क्योंकि डिप्रेशन इज एन अम्ब्रेला टर्म। देयर इज नो सच थिंग एज डिप्रेशन। जब आप साइकाइट्रिस्ट या साइकोलॉजिस्ट के पास जाओगे तो आपको उसका कुछ टर्म बताएंगे, नाम बताएंगे कि व्हाट टाइप ऑफ डिप्रेशन यू हैव। देन एवरी टाइप हैज देयर इट्स ओन वे ऑफ डीलिंग। तो बस अपने आप को ऐसा बना के मत बैठ जाओ कि बस। अब जैसे नार्सिसिस्ट की हम बात कर रहे हैं, अनामिका विल शेयर देयर आर टाइप्स ऑफ नार्सिसिस्ट। तो किसी को बोलते हैं नार्सिसिस्ट है, बट कौन से टाइप का है, और वो हाउ हाउ टू डील विद दैट एंड हाउ टू नो, ये जानना जरूरी है। तो ये हाफ इंफॉर्मेशन के बेसिस पे हम जो काम करते हैं ना, दिस इज नॉट करेक्ट। तो ओवर टू यू अनामिका।
Thanks, Sachin. Yes. So now going to, how many, the types of narcissists. So basically, there are two major categories of narcissists, and based on, their needs of need of praise and about one's grandiosity or superiority or entitlement which they feel. So based on these different kind of traits that they carry, there are two basic types. So, actually, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. So that gives 9 key characteristic traits. So the first one is exaggerated feelings of superiority and self-importance, and regular fantasies of personal power, intelligence, success, attractiveness, and a firm belief in oneself being so special, like personal specialness, a strong need for attention, praise, admiration from other people. So all the people who are here, just if you have somebody in your head which you feel is like that, so when you're listening to these points, just see if you are actually able to relate to all of these. The fifth one is entitled behavior, like always expecting a special treatment from other people, a habit of using manipulation tricks, for an example, gaslighting or passive aggression, low empathy or disinterest in the emotional needs of others, a tendency to always envy others and assume others envy them, and arrogance and scorn for others, right? Now, all of these 9 key characteristic traits, which is given by DSM-5, so the thing is that not most of us, all of us have some or the other of these things in mild degrees, moderate degrees. So when you are thinking about that one person and you're trying to understand more about them, see if all of these things lie somewhere in an excessive category, right? So the way normal people feel it, we all feel a strong need for attention, praise. We all want to be admired. Is it excessive? Is it so excessive that that becomes the need of decision making, the point of a decision making, that becomes their point of origination for everything? Somebody's attractiveness, let's suppose they meet somebody and they find a person, so how attractive the other person is, or how rich the other person is, or how smart the other person is, or whatever quality, that is the point of decision making. Okay, so these are certain things which we need to look into, and in a narcissist you will see all of these things, not one or two points, but all of these things, or all of these in excessive category, in excessive quantity. Then you can come to a fair conclusion that yes, this may be the case, right? And again, before you just start doing things and handling things, it's always recommended to formally go and get it diagnosed. And these are the narcissistic traits. And when it comes to the types, so basically there are two major types. So there are many types of narcissists out there. So a lot of people talk about 4, 5, 7. And so today we are going to cover the two major stems: the covert narcissists, or the overt narcissists. So covert narcissism is also called vulnerable narcissism, and people with these in this category actually seem very, humble and shy and quiet and nice, and they are not very extrovert and outgoing. They are more of an introvert category, while the overt narcissism, which is also called grandiose narcissism, so these people have a sharp contrast with, like a lot of confidence, outward confidence, and self-importance, which is projected with people. Now, people with overt narcissism, which is the grandiose form of narcissism, they actually draw attention to their abilities by actually talking about their wealth, accomplishments, their attractiveness, their possessions. They frequently talk about, how much other people love them, how much other people appreciate them. They always want a special treatment. They get very angry when they are ignored or dismissed, and they just lack really lack empathy and openly reject or treat others with, contempt, and they disregard other people. While people who are vulnerable narcissists, they actually seek admiration indirectly, by putting their own work down, and by maybe even doing acts of kindness, and even complimenting others just to, get the compliments back. And so they get into more manipulative ways. They spend a lot of time fantasizing about how they can earn recognition, which they feel they deserve. They expect special treatment, and they feel slighted when they don't receive it. So, like overt narcissists, they don't go on reacting with angry outbursts, but these people actually shut down and start, using indirect ways of receiving the special treatment which they wanted. And they ignore people. They hold grudges towards people who have wronged them, and they always fantasize about revenge, and they're very resentful, and they are very angry from inside. So their aggression is actually passive aggression. Now, if you imagine a room full of people, so narcissist, it's not like the one who's dancing on the chair, who's all the outgoing thing. That is the only person that is meant to be a narcissist. No, that could be one, but the thing is that there could be somebody who's an introvert standing somewhere in the corner, and not talking to anybody and just shy. They could also be one. Now, the thing is that the 9 traits given by DSM 5th edition, both of these traits are actually present in both of these types of narcissists. The only difference is that in the outside environment, they show up differently, right? But inside, all of these traits are there in both of them, and both of them in excessive degrees, but their ways of handling, people are very different. And that is why it's also important that, how we understand which category a person lies into, because just like Sachin told about the type of depression, and then you can deal with it. When you understand these 2 categories, grandiose and vulnerable narcissism, you can understand how do you deal forward with it? What do you have to do with it, right? So anybody has any questions till now?
Hi, Anamika. Yasmin here again. Regarding the vulnerable covert narcissist, it's very difficult to identify them, because when we talk about the issues that we face in general life, for example, if we take a work environment where the work culture is very toxic, and there is an introvert employee, or a bunch of introverts who are working there who are not very vocal. But usually what is happening is, if you see this narcissism and introverts, because uh, the person who is getting abused is also usually an introvert codependent type. So it is kind of very difficult to identify whether that person, that introvert person, is a codependent or a narcissist, a covert narcissist. That is kind of, that is not getting clear here. So how do we get deeper into it to identify?
Right, right. Very, very good question, and it's very relevant actually, Yasmin. So now, absolutely, two people can look like their reaction. Let's suppose something happens in the office, taking a hypothetical scenario, and two people are behaving, the same way. They both went to their tables. They're shy and they're introvert, and then they're not talking about it. Now, this is not very easy to recognize in the first instance, right? Right away, let's suppose there are new employees in the office. You cannot um, right away say that this person is a narcissist, this is not. But the nine traits that we talked about, because both of these people will talk very differently and will put things forward very differently, and their focus is very, very different, right? So one person lacks empathy, right? And their behavior would be very different from the behavior of the person who actually has a lot of empathy and they just feel hurt, right? So there are similarities, some similarities in both of them, right? That they both are seeking attention, right? They both want that somebody should appreciate them. But because of this person who has empathy and who's not a narcissist would not use any maladaptive ways to get things done, and he would not try to manipulate other employees in the office so that he can find out and do what he or she wants to get done, while this person who actually is a narcissist is going to do all of those things which he or she can do to get his things done, be it manipulation, be it gaslighting, be it any kind of tactics and any kind of thing, they can even plan things out. So wait a little bit, and these traits, nine traits, which are key personality traits, and you will observe how both of these people act very differently. So that is,
Can I add something to this?
please, Sachin.
Yeah. So, Yasmin, what you said, good question. And as Anamika mentioned, that there is no need to jump very quickly to decide whether this person is or not. Observe. And with observation, you will see that even with whether the person is introvert or extrovert, it doesn't matter, because those two character groupings that Tanamika mentioned is one is a narcissist who's a extrovert and one is a narcissist who's an introvert. So this is that their characters, their personality, but the expression, the way to express, they will both be expressing those nine traits anyway, but in their own flavor. So one is strawberry and one is orange. So their flavors are different. So they will express. So they will both be manipulative. The introvert will do manipulation in an introvert way. Extrovert will do manipulation in extrovert way. So you have to observe that is happening. So they will manipulate, and then that feeling of grandiose. The introvert will also feel grandiose about it. So maybe an extrovert way of showing grandiose, and grandeur is I'm very big and all that, is by verbalizing and by telling everyone how big I am and all that. Whereas an introvert's way could be to belittle other people. डिसमिसिव बीइंग डिसमिसिव, ये आप उनके सामने कुछ बोल रहे हो, आपको जवाब नहीं दे रहे, बट जिस तरह से there is a smile on their face, a smug on their face, which actually is very dismissive about you. So an introvert can also have that feeling of grandiose, but their expression, the way they will express it, is going to be different to the way an extrovert will express it. This you will only pick by observation. If you will keep those nine traits in mind, so keep those nine, that character, those criteria that Anamika shared with you, keeping that in mind, you will be able to pick by observation. क्या चल रहा है?
Yes, Sachin, thank you. I get that. Yes.
Yeah.
And Yasmin,
Thank
the most interesting part of these things, why this question is like good, is because codependent people are also passive aggressive and manipulative in nature, right? Uh, because they are, just let's not get into that's a different topic, but they can be manipulative in nature. But that is why we are mentioning that 9 traits are very important, even though people are passive aggressive. For an example, I'll take my example, honestly. I was a codependent person for a very long time throughout my life, right? And I have used all the passive aggressive and manipulative ways to seek attention. But that is just one of the traits, because I did not lack empathy. I did not belittle other people. I did not think that I'm the only one special here and nobody else needs to feel special. I'm the only one special, right? So, Neelu, there's some noise from your side. Can you mute yourself? Thanks. Yes. So, a codependent person would show these signs. That is why we said in the beginning only that we all have these kind of tendencies, but that does not make us a hardcore narcissist. So we may have these tendencies, but that is the checkpoint that you have to go through the whole list and find out where is the checklist complete. Because just labeling somebody a narcissist because one of these signs are there or two or three are there, that's really not a right way to go forward with it, because that person is just a codependent hurt person. So there's no other way for that person to figure out how they can meet their needs, right? But when it comes to narcissism, it is in excessive degrees. So that is why you have to watch out for some days, for a longer period of time, that how excessive is it. Okay, is it like just once or twice or whatever, but is it like all the 9 checkpoints, and that too in excessive degrees? Then okay, then you can probably make a fair conclusion about yourself, and you can try out ways to get out of it or be in it or whatever way to deal with it. But that doesn't make a person a narcissist.
Anusha's hand is up.
Yeah, Anusha, any question from your side?
Yeah. Is it possible that these narcissists behave with outside people really in a different way versus with the partners in a different?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very, very important and very good question, Anusha. Yes, they do. So they will go out in the world and they are the best people in the world. Because you know why? One of the traits of narcissism is that they want to be like special, right? And how would they be special if they don't show they are so special? So in the whole world they will be like, oh my god, like for parents and for maybe let's suppose your parents and for friends and for the society, they would feel, every person in the society is going to feel, oh my god, this is such a perfect person. How can they even exist on this earth? I mean, they're perfect in everything, because that is exactly what a narcissist wants. But when they come back home, and then when they actually have to be there with their partner, because they are disconnected with other people's feelings, so it's easy for them to maintain the shallow relationships. But when it comes to their partners, the relationship has to be deeper. And uh, uh, let's suppose the person is a man. Usually most men, statistically speaking, most men are in the category of narcissists, not women. So it's like an 80-20 ratio. Uh, we cannot say that it's not tested throughout the globe, but it's still, if you talk to people. So let's suppose a male is like that. Now they actually, the female in the relationship wants to get into a deeper relationship, but for him it's useless. What do I feel? Why there's a need to feel anything? So now then the whole, actually the narcissistic story begins, that because they don't want to feel it and they don't have the faculty to feel empathetic to their partner, they will go on end up doing all these things with them. So that is a very common thing when it comes to
Mm.
these relationships.
Thank you, Anamika.
Thanks, Anusha.
Yeah, I mean, that is something that I really faced in my life. So that's why I want to ask, because he is best for everyone. And then in the house, whatever the traits that you have mentioned, I even wrote them on the paper. They're all like exactly matching. So I was like, okay, why is he only with me like that, not with
See,
others?
they will be like that with others also, but in a different shape or form. As long as they are getting what they need, is fine. So
Mhm.
where if you are putting resistance or anything like that, then you will see the ugly side of it. As long as you are submissive and you are doing what they are asking you to do and the way they want to behave, as long as you are doing, they'll be nice to you also. So be submissive and they'll be nice to you also. So the only problem is when you don't want to be submissive. Then the
But
problem starts now.
I don't think, they spend so much time with the outside people that
Exactly.
that
So that's what I'm
submissive
saying. If they
actually
would,
comes,
then
right?
that they would face the same problem with them also. So yeah, if they are meeting someone for half an hour, 1 hour, उसमें क्या फर्क पड़ता है किसी को नहीं.
Yeah,
But
that's
if
what
they will start spending more time with them, and the other person starts to see this side of theirs, and they see, let's say, they didn't pick up that this person is manipulative. So
happened.
in few meetings, initially it seems like, oh, what a nice person, what a charming person, what, इतना मीठा बोलने वाला, इतना polite and all that. And then you get very impressed by that. और फिर when you meet frequently, or you start to hear कि आपको कुछ बोला, किसी और को कुछ बोला, and you start to hear these discrepancies, these stories, and you start to now, let's say, uh, उनको तुम बोल रहे हो कि this is what I figured out, then the problem will start ना. If you then just be submissive and just let them do what they're doing, तो फिर उनको क्या problem, then they will just leave you alone. तो अगली पार्ट तो तभी दिखेगा ना, when you will start to object these things, and
Yeah,
this
that too
will,
when you spend more time, right? When you
uh,
spend more time,
when
yeah.
you spend more time,
And
of
there is,
course,
yeah,
yeah. क्योंकि see, कई बार क्या होता है कि we may meet many people who are like that, very grandiose and all that. हमें लगता है ठीक है ना, हमें क्या फर्क पड़ता है, we just met this person once in a life, हमने देखा मिले, तो you maybe notice that person as well, he's full of himself or she's full of herself and all that, but you move on. हम then like that's fine, like हमें क्या लेना देना. So these things matter when somebody close to you who matters more is doing it. ऐसे तो as such तो you meet so many people who are doing it, तो उनसे आपको क्या फर्क पड़ेगा. You just move on. You just recognize कि हाँ वो कर रहे हैं, but you just say हाँ ठीक है, that's fine. So these things will matter more when you are frequently meeting the person. They are big part of your life, and when your life is getting affected by it, the problem है ना.
yeah,
Neelu, you want to ask some question?
Yeah, so I was very much relating to Anusha, which she said कि घर में कुछ और and बाहर कुछ और. When we start facing these things, and you are saying कि because when we start resisting, then we are able to see the ugly side, which is so relatable. So now when after a longer period of time understanding the behavior, and now whatever the points which you have and Anamika have described traits, most of them are matching. And then this thing also, like ghar mein or bahar mein ka difference, the dealing with the people and all. So then what to do now when we come to know that this is happening to us, then how to deal with it? Hello.
Right. Yeah, CP.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so Neelu, now how to deal with a narcissist, it is like in itself is a, hours long topic. So we are thinking to do another session, like this was more about an informative session, but we're thinking of doing another session of how to actually deal with it. Right. So for the time being, I would just say this one thing that it's not really possible to change these people. So that is the sad part, that it's we most people end up spending most of their lives thinking that someday this person will change because they have created a trauma bond with them. It's not possible, right? It's usually does not happen. So that is why if you can get out of these relationships, the wisest thing you can do is actually get out of these relationships, and you will go through a lot of trouble when you actually call out and go out. So you have to be ready to go through that. And if you are not able to go through that, like there are people, because of whatever reasons, financial reasons, because of the kids, because of whatever reasons, they are not ready to go out of the relationship, then those who are going through it, they have to learn how to how to actually deal with it in their regular environment, so that they can be sane and they can live a happy life. So distancing yourself, coming out of it, not taking everything personally, and um, you know living your own life, focusing on your own life, individual life. These are a few things which we have to do when we are dealing with these situations. But yes,
Yeah.
we will try to do another session on how to actually deal with it.
So, Nidu,
Yeah,
sometimes
so yeah.
in life we come to these points where we intuitively already know what we should be doing. We probably need validation and confirmation from others if we are doing the right thing or not. But I tell you that there aren't many choices in this case, because the other person is what they are. Now you have to decide that are you ready to live with it or not live with it, because both consequences you have to face. If you live with the person, you have to face the consequence. If you don't live with the person, you have to face the consequence. So nobody can decide that for you. You have to weigh out that should I live or should I go? Sometimes things do come to those simple points, but sometimes simple doesn't mean कि it's very easy. It is simple, it's not easy. That all I can say. इससे ज़्यादा complicated है नहीं, लेकिन हाँ वो easy नहीं होता है वो decision लेना. That I can understand. But life में हम कभी कभी ऐसे point पे आते जाते, we just have to.
Yeah. So all of you are there in the group, right? So what we can do, we had prepared a small questionnaire which can help you understand and identify these people in your life. So we'll just share that questionnaire in the group itself, so you
I'll
can.
say, Anamika, I think if it, because we are recording and people will be listening to this later as well who missed out. So maybe just read the questions anyway, because they'll be
Okay,
on
makes
recording, so
sense.
people can. Yeah, so I think that's
Makes,
better as well. And many
yeah,
people want to listen to the recording later.
great. So there are basically 12 questions which we have written down so that you can identify them. The first question is, do they consider others' viewpoints? Do they behave differently in front of others and when they are alone with you? Do they make every conversation about themselves? Fourth question is, do they confuse you and make you question your reality? The fifth question is, do they always think they are right and never apologize for anything? Question six is, are their good acts all about boosting their image? Question seven is, do they always need special treatment? Question eight, do they blame everything on others? Question nine, do they refuse to be accountable for their bad behavior? Question 10, do they lack empathy or feel what you feel? Question 11 is, do you always feel intimidated by them? And question 12 is, do you feel like you're walking on eggshells with them? So these are some contemplation questions which you can go through and to help you identify. So see where in the spectrum, these people lie. And if you can even, scale from 1 to 10 on where they lie and see where it actually is there, right? And then you can make an informed decision and come to a fair conclusion that what exactly is going on, right? And also, it does not mean that, you have to be in a relationship, even when you realize that, the relationship the person is not exactly a narcissist, but then it's still a very traumatic and it's still a very unhealthy relationship. Then also there's a point which comes, when you need to question yourself, should I stay or should I go, right? And if you are identifying the other person as somebody who is on a higher degree of narcissism, then again the same question comes that, you have to have clarity. If I'm staying in this relationship, then what? And if I'm not, then what? So it begins with you having clarity that what you want to do with your life.
By clarity, by what you that you need to have some kind of gain. अगर आपका यहाँ पे कोई gain, there is no gain for you to stay or to leave. You have to focus on what is your gain. If you're deciding that I am going to stay, then it has to be about you. It has to be your gain. You can't say, oh, for the kids, or for this person, or for my parents, or for my... No. You cannot outsource this responsibility on because of someone else. You are doing it because that has a very good chance of creating resentment later on. That you will feel that I sacrifice so much for you and you guys don't even value what I have done for you guys and all that. No, don't ever do that. So there could be factors when you are making decision. As I said, it is simple, it is not easy. So there could be factors that because of kids or because of these logistics reasons and all that, I'm not doing it. But no, if you are staying, you have to figure out your own reason. There has to be a gain for you, personal gain for you in staying there. And if you are leaving, then also it has to be about you. There has to be a personal gain for you, why you are going. So ये बिना किए the decision is not going to be complete. So never किसी और के कंधे पे रख के बंदूक नहीं चलाना कि बच्चों के लिए कर रहे हैं, पेरेंट्स के लिए कर रहे हैं या उनके लिए कर रहे हैं, वो नहीं कर पाएंगे, ये होगा। That's just wrong. That's just wrong.
Yeah. So it is also about taking, responsibility for your actions. Plus, also there's another thing which is important is that all these kind of relationships are codependent and trauma bonded relationships. So once you actually come to a fair conclusion, don't try to, camouflage it or हम जामा पहनाते हैं ना चीजों को. So don't try to cover it with saying that हाँ ऐसा तो है but ऐसा नहीं है ना, ठीक है. See things the way they are. अगर कोई narcissist नहीं है तो उसको बोलना नहीं है that he or she is a narcissist. But अगर कोई है and you very clearly see and you're very clearly seeing every day what is happening with you, that is your truth for this moment. So don't try to cover your truth. Don't try. So you have to come to a place to see things the way they are and act accordingly. ना कि अपनी स्टोरीज बनानी है कि हाँ उसने मेरे साथ ऐसा किया, ठीक है, and I am going through all that, लेकिन वो ऐसा भी तो करता है ना, because that is a clear narcissistic pattern, right? कि these people, they for 6 days it's abuse and 7th day is love bombing, right? And that love bombing is something which we create the trauma bond with because we feel somewhere that we are going to change the other person. किसी दिन तो बदल जाएगा यार, किसी दिन तो change हो जाएगा, जो भी हो जाएगा. So it's important that we come out of the fallacy there is no excessive blaming on people who are not responsible for it. But when they are actually doing something, take note of it and act accordingly. So this is the whole purpose of doing this whole session, कि हम informed action ले सकें, हम clarity से action ले सकें. So दोनों ही चीजें, दोनों extremes हैं from our side, from our analysis, and that is why we need a lot of clarity, right? तो अगर ऐसा हो रहा है, then take note of it, that this is happening, and I am responsible to do something about it. Right.
We are over time and people are leaving as well. So if there is no questions or anything anyone wants to ask,
Hi, I just wanted to say one thing. This is Priyanka, and so recognizing the patterns and everything, and seeing that and also understanding that the change is not going to happen. I can actually see, I have seen that in my relationship. I spent a lot of time trying to change that person, but even today, after some time of separation, I can still see that he is still at the same place. Plus, alcohol is also there in the whole mix of narcissism, so that is another issue. But then, even today, when he calls, or just the whole sense of trying to emotionally manipulate and saying things that make no sense, and then that becomes a trigger point for me. Like, it's not that I am believing what he's saying at this point, because I know that there is no change, and these are the exact same dialogues that I heard the first time when things happen, and that I'm hearing even now. So even those dialogues are not changing, but still there's a disturbance that is created within me. So that is something, how to deal with that.
Yeah. So Priyanka, in that case, what you're saying, and it's very common, very, very common, and this is the point for you when you're seeing things clearly. But then see the thing is that when you don't see, when you don't know about the truth, and you fall for it, that makes sense, but you know the truth and you still fall for it, then there's seriously something we need to do about it. And that thing is that you have to be firm and assertive. So probably there's this part of you which still tries to tell you that maybe he has changed or whatever. So you will have to get into certain things, like first understanding the trauma bonds, love bombing, how it happens. And I am assuming that you already are aware of these things, because now you're seeing things clearly. Then you have to actually become assertive. Okay, and as being assertive is not like being arrogant, but it's about being in your sense of your personal truth, your personal power. Okay, when you are able to take stand for what it is right now, right? So that is something which you actually, this is not something which would just happen because I said to you. That is something you have to practice for yourself, and trust me, when you practice that, it is. Yeah, Sachin, please.
I just want to add to what Priyanka, very straightforward answer to your question. एकदम सटीक आंसर जो है, straight shooting straight is you lack healthy boundaries. That is the reason the other person is able to take advantage. So plain and simple, you lack setting healthy boundaries. Not with just this person, I'm guessing with many other people as well. Maybe they are not narcissists, but this is a problem that you have. You are not able to set healthy boundaries.
Yes, I think that is the problem.
Yeah, fix that. So as I mentioned that we have, so this is the problem, you need to fix it. You can do your own research and figure out and all that. हमारी तरफ से help की बात है, तो we've already released a journey on this, which is a 15 days e-learning journey on how to set healthy boundaries. So that's the help from our side. You can enroll in that journey and learn how to set healthy boundaries. or you can just explore your own way of doing it. But that is the problem. You are not able to set healthy boundaries. In fact, that would be the problem with most people who will be dealing in this kind of setup, because these people are able to take advantage because you are not able to set healthy boundaries. So what Anamika is talking about, assertiveness and all that, is all part of setting healthy boundaries. But it goes beyond assertiveness. It's a lot more than that. It's a lot more to explore. Where is it coming from? Why are you not able to set healthy boundaries? You need to do some digging in and go self-assess yourself. कि आया कहाँ से है? So you have to forget about this person. You have to forget about everybody else. This is a problem that you have. Because you have this problem, you are able to attract a person like this. अगर आपको हेल्दी बाउंड्री सेट करनी आती तो इस टाइप का इंसान आपकी लाइफ में होता ही नहीं. That's the like a straightforward answer for you.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's already 7:53. So, Yasmin, Anusha, anything? Neelu, anything from your side? And we'll wrap up the call.
I just
Thank
want
you.
to say thank you. Yeah, go
Thank you
ahead.
so much, Anamika and Sachin.
Thanks, Anusha.
Thanks, Yasmin. They were good questions. Thanks, Anusha. You all asked very good questions today, and this is the reason why it becomes more, valuable. So, Neelu, Priyanka, everyone who's here, they all asked very good questions today. So, very glad.
Yeah, thank you so
Yeah.
much for giving so much of clarity, because पता तो चल रहा था, but still I was in a state of confusion, like self-doubting and healthy boundaries, like you said. I can relate to that. Yeah.
हाँ, और ये यहाँ पे ना, not able to set healthy boundaries is becoming more problematic with these people, क्योंकि उनका भी extreme case है और आपका भी extreme case है. ये दोनों extreme case, एक बहुत ज़्यादा मतलब एक को तो boundaries किसी की दिखती ही नहीं है और दूसरा
और
set
एक
ही नहीं
सेट
करना
नहीं कर
चाहता.
पा रहा.
हाँ, तो
इसीलिए
it's
तो they
better.
actually make the puzzle. क्योंकि जो healthy boundary set कर पा रहे हैं, these people will not be able to manipulate ना.
वो तो मैनिपुलेट कर ही नहीं पाएंगे ना. वो तो आपका तो
Lots
बॉन्डिंग
and
होगा ही
lots
नहीं
of
ना.
manipulation is there. Yeah.
हाँ,
True.
बिकॉज यू आर अलाउइंग इट. तो आपको पहले वो कर. अब इसका बेनिफिट ये होगा कि ऑल्दो आपका ट्रिगर पॉइंट तो ये है कि इस वजह से आपने किया है, लेकिन आप ये ट्रिगर पॉइंट यूज करके अपने ऊपर काम करते हो और हेल्दी बाउंड्री सेट करना सीख जाते हो, तो बाकी सबके साथ भी कर पाओगे ना. बाकी सब नहीं होंगे, उतने नार्सिसिस्ट नहीं होंगे, लेकिन फायदा तो आपको अपनी लाइफ में हर जगह होगा ना उसका. तो ट्रिगर पॉइंट ये बने, इसकी वजह से शुरू हुआ, बट बेनिफिट तो आपको हर जगह आएगा उसका. So I would say that's the thing. Just learn to set healthy boundaries. That's the core message. You can learn to do that yourself. You can do your own research around this कि कैसे करना है. अगर हमारी हेल्प चाहिए तो already a e-learning journey released few days back. 15 days journey है. Take the journey और just participate in it and figure out कि क्यों हो रहा है, कैसे हो रहा है, इसको solve कैसे करना है. तो इफ यू फील कि 15 दिन लगाने वर्थ हैं ये प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करने के लिए, तो लगाइए.
Great. So we'll just wrap it up now. Thanks, Yasmin. Thanks, Anusha. Thanks, Neelu. Thanks, Priyanka. Wonderful questions. Hoping to meet you all again next Sunday.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Good
Thank you
night.
so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you so much. Yeah.